In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Kassidy Bernard, who is joining us from, where are you actually today, Kassidy?
I'm joining from my home community, so Waigahoma First Nation, and that's in Unama'ki, one of our districts of Mi'kma'ki.
Well, welcome to the show. Kassidy, you use they, them, and Najim. Am I pronouncing that right?
No,
Najim? No, Nekem?
Negum, Negum,
Negem.
Negum.
Negem pronouns,
Hmm.
which is really new to me and probably a lot of our listeners as well. So perhaps for our listeners who are familiarizing themselves with gender neutral pronouns, can you tell us a little bit more about the pronoun?
Yeah, so Negum is actually a Mi'kmaq word. So our language, it's not really necessarily gendered at all. I know like translations we've kind of gendered it, but it's more like inanimate and animate, and that's like the differences in our language. But negum is kind of the only pronoun that we use, so it's genderless. It's just kind of like, oh, them over there, like negum, and it can be used for different things, like not just people. Yeah.
It's
I
really interesting.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I have to say it like three times, I think, like Negem to make sure I get it
Nagam.
right. Negem.
Yeah,
But
negum.
Isaac, you know a lot about, a lot of other cultures that also use just only gender neutral pronouns. They don't have gendered pronouns at all.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really interesting too, looking at it on like a kind of linguistic lens, because it's to your point exactly there, Cassidy, a lot of indigenous language kind of focus on the inanimate and animate object rather than kind of like English language where we have nouns, we have pronouns, we have verbs, things like that. So and our pronouns, you can associate them kind of with anything. They're kind of like glazed across. And then there's like French where gender is absolutely everywhere. There's no escaping. So do you know any of kind of like the linguistic history of Negum, or like I understand it's Mi'kmaq, but
Mm.
was there any kind of like flows to it to maybe other indigenous languages across Canada? Do you know any of that or?
No, I don't know the connections to other linguistic like connections like other nations, but I mean, we it's actually funny because we share a lot of similarities with Anishinaabe-Moan. There's actually a lot of stories that a lot of our cultural carriers took our language and teachings and ceremonies to the nation when we were first like there was first contact. We knew like that would have to happen, so they carry a lot of our teachings and words and things that overlap, so there might be connections there. But the other nations in our Wabanaki Confederacy, like there's a lot of overlap as well, like either the same way of saying something or like just really close. So yeah, this weekend I was talking to a friend I made who's from this Wolastoq nation, so they have a lot of overlap with us, and like we would say a word and be like, okay, what's yours, like what's yours for this, and we were sharing that back and forth, and it was funny because like I was like, okay, what's one of your favorite words in your language, and they were like, it was the translation for like bum. And like I was talking about it because I was like, we just one of the really cool things we just did recently was a it was like a language class, but it was centered on like insults in Mi'kmaq.
Oh, I love
So we're
that.
like practicing insulting each other, and so that's why it came up, because like one of the insults is like calling each other a bum, and
I love that. We all love bum jokes, don't we? It's funny.
yeah.
We had a friend come over from Ireland that was visiting my daughter years ago, and we went down to Mahone Bay. And in Gaelic, Pogue Mahone means kiss my backside, I guess. And so they saw the sign for Mahone Bay and thought, geez, that's like pretty hilarious. And they couldn't stop laughing. And now every time I go into Mahone Bay, I think, oh, kiss my ass.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, whoa, pardon my
Yeah.
French, but
Yeah.
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 hmm
Back to your question about negum, like a lot of our words, they're based on like how many people you're referring to. So with negum, like it starts with an N. A lot of N like prefixes are for like one person. But there's also like the word gil, which is like just saying you, like gil. So there's just like different suffixes and prefixes for how many people. Like for example, Wallalan, like thank you, it's for one person to one person. So like it can change if there's like saying Walaliek is like thank you from a couple of us, you know? So like it changes. Walalioch is thank you all, right? So there's like those kinds of things. So Negam is like that too. You can see like things starting with N or NU or NA, and that's usually like for like one person or yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm just
Yeah.
like in my head, like as you're saying them, I should mention like I have a degree in linguistics, so I'm a little too intense with linguistics sometimes, but like the syntax of Mi'kmaq is so interesting because it's like, yeah. Sorry, I'm just sitting here like thinking in my head. And for it's Nagim, correct?
Negam.
Negim. Perfect. Negim.
Mhm.
Is it kind of accepted all across Mi'kma'ki, or are there any certain regions or spots that maybe they're like don't like that, they use something else? Like what's kind of, I'm just trying to maybe put the comparison to maybe like they them pronouns or kind of more gender neutral pronouns. Is there any kind of
Right.
stigmatization within that?
No, because like it's just kind of what we all use because it's not even, some people don't really get it either when it's being used as like a pronoun when it's like mixed with English. Like we call it Miglish.
English.
I love that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's like even all the way to like Lustagush, like they have a different spelling for theirs, but it's just Negm, so it's still Negam.
Okay.
So, yeah,